All right, guys, today I'm going to be giving my official stadium tier rankings. This might actually be kind of a better way to rank the stadiums rather than being forced to like choose between, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can just put them in tiers and it'll be easier. I did come out with my huge video where I ranked all the 30 stadiums. It's doing very well, so I am happy about that. But this is going to be more of a, we're going to group them together. Which ones are you can see I've customized the best. These are probably only going to be like 4 or 5 really good stadiums. You've got your typical average stadiums, probably going to be the most in the average category, below average. It's not very good, but it's not the worst. And then the worst, very likely I'm only going to put 2 in that category, and you probably already know which one those are going to be. But getting right to it, I think this is done maybe alphabetically or something, but Angel Stadium is the first one, so it's pretty clearly below average. We'll see if it ends up getting a renovation. It certainly could use it. You've got the nice waterfall with the rock structure in center field. I like the batter's eye, but this is a ballpark. It's been through it. It became a multi-purpose with football. They put seating in. They took seating out. It's super old. It's kind of surprising. You're talking about LA. You've got the Dodgers. I know Dodger Stadium is legendary, but it's very old. And so is Angel Stadium. So, maybe now with the ownership solved. I know they were talking about selling the team. Now that that's finally solved, maybe they might renovate this. It would probably have to be $500 million renovation at least, or maybe build a new stadium in LA. Next, we're going to be taking a look at Oracle Park. So this is really borderline for me. I probably will, I'm probably going to have to put it in the best. It's like my 3rd or 4th favorite stadium. I mean, it actually looks like, oh no, that is correct. I thought it was flipped for a second, but you got the water, you got McCovey Cove. It's just beautiful. I have been there. It's one of the top 5 stadiums in the MLB. The seating to me, really, really nice. Not really a big fan on the recent renovation where they took away Triples Alley. Anytime you take away a unique feature, I have a problem with that. But it is still one of the best for sure. It's not my number 1. I know a lot of people have it as their number 1. Busch Stadium, really good, very underrated. I talked about it. I actually looked at their kind of Cardinals Village that they had installed with a rooftop pool, and you can see the game. There's like a hot tub. It's real nice. So Busch Stadium, smaller upper deck, first of its kind. I love the smaller upper decks, and it does a good job on hitting on everything. Also, I like the overall batter's eye with the grass in center field. They did a good job on that. The one knock, you can say it's a little bit average. Next, you've got Chase Field. You could maybe say worst, but I'm just going to go below average. It is what it is. It has a horrible upper deck. It's got very bland seating in the outfield. It does have the pool and the hot tub in right center. That's a nice little touch. But the batter's eye, the scoreboard, it's disgusting. The retractable roof, it is what it is, but they jammed that right in center field. It is horrible. It's a below average stadium. Citi Field, not a fan of the interior, but I love the exterior. I'm going to say it's a pretty average stadium. I know a lot of people think it's above average. I just don't like the upper deck design. The seating to me, not a fan of the big upper decks personally. Next, we have Citizens Bank Park. So right next to Busch Stadium, I would say really good. Another really underrated ballpark, in my opinion. The upper deck approach, it is kind of a split upper deck, but just kind of that angle that it goes at, I love that. Also, you've got the center field batter's eye with all the woods and things like that, the ivy going up the brick wall. Really, really good job. They just got a new scoreboard there. Citi Field also got a new scoreboard there debuting. Comerica Park, it's below average. Would I put it in front of Chase? Yeah, I'd probably put it in front of Chase and Angel, but I would say it's bottom 10 at least, maybe bottom 6 in baseball. I'm not a fan of it. It's got basically the same outfield seating design as Chase Field, just looking at it, minus the scoreboard in center field. They recently moved the fences in. it doesn't look very good. I mean, there's a lot of problems with that. I talked about it in another video. I understand you want more offense, but at least let's have a plan when it comes to the renovation. You can't just leave the second wall up. It's going to look bad. So there's just nothing special about Comerica. Very bland ballpark overall. It does have a split upper deck, but it's certainly not my favorite. Next, we have Coors Field. So I love Coors Field. This image is not updated. They don't have the updated upper deck, so that's kind of bothers me. But I do like Coors Field a lot. I don't know if I can change this. I like it probably, well, I don't know. It's close, but I probably do like it over Oracle Park, just barely. You know, it's just got so many unique things. The upper deck bar, pretty much one of a kind. You know, the rock pile in center field, the little addition they made with kind of the wooded area and the river out right near the bullpens. Really, really good. It's also a major hitters park. I just think it's a good vibe to watch a baseball game. You know, you could make the argument, I know a lot of people will probably move it down, but I'm always going to put it in the best. Next, we have Dodger Stadium. I think it's probably at the top of average. You know, Dodger Stadium, I know they renovated it. They had the All-Star game. It's very old. I love the seating color, you know, that matches the Dodgers, kind of mimics the ocean when it comes to the upper deck being blue, and then it kind of turns colors. But overall, it's just very old. It's hard for me to move it up a ton. It's kind of on the borderline of being a legendary. Like, it's not on the Wrigley Field level. It's not on the Fenway Park level. It's not that old. So it's kind of a weird place right now with me and Dodger Stadium. I'm going to say top of the average category. Fenway's got to be the best, or at least right at the top. I just think the Green Monster, they renovated it really well. They actually renovated it a little bit this offseason. But yeah, to me, just the way it looks, the old design, very, very small upper deck, maybe a little bit too small, honestly, but you have to understand, this is a very old park, and the Green Monster is just going to carry so much weight. So, you know, we're talking about a park that's so much older than these other two, so it's kind of hard to rank them. That's why I'll just kind of put them together in the best category. Next, we do have Globe Life Field. Really not a fan of it. I'm going to put it in average. It is the newest ballpark in the MLB, opening in 2020. I kind of consider it to be a little bit cursed because its first game, there were no fans due to the pandemic. I just think it got off to a bad start, and there's just nothing all that special with it. Personally, I don't know. The outside of it, they talk about it looking like a grill, you know, because it's a retractable roof and just the way it looks. I'm going to say average. Next, it is Great American Ballpark. So to me, I'm going to put it probably towards the upper area of average, right along with Dodger Stadium, but behind it, you know, this is a distinct hitter's park. You know, nothing great about it, but nothing that bad. Pretty standard. I like the right field seating. I like the boat in center field. You know, the batter's eye, the little green patch, that's fine, whatever. It does have a split upper deck. It's not my favorite, but it's kind of like, it'd be ranked like 15th or 16 out of 30 for me personally, so I'm going to say average. Next is Guaranteed Rate Field. That's got to probably, I would say, be one of the worst below average ones. In my opinion, guaranteed rate. There's nothing special about it. You know, it seems very small, and it kind of has it's like fully enclosed, but it's not a roof. You know, that like it has that thing that goes around it. So I just don't like guaranteed rate. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's not in a good neighborhood. So I'm going to say significantly below average, but it can't be the worst. I mean, it's still just, it's an MLB stadium. It actually is a very offensively friendly park. At least it has been in recent years. Next, we have Kauffman Stadium. I'm going to go with average. You know, I am going to put it in front of Globe Life just because of the fountains. I do love that aspect of it. You could even argue it should be at the upper area of average, but that's really not how I'm ranking these. I'm just ranking them based on tier. So Kauffman Stadium, I like the fountains. The upper deck is kind of weird. I guess you can say it's unique, but I don't like that big wall of seating right behind home plate. So for me, you know, the scoreboard with the Royal, the one interesting thing with this, they're looking at getting a new stadium. They're trying to get out of Kauffman, so we will see if they end up doing that. Next, we have Lone Depot Park. This is a very hard one for me to rank. I love the exterior of it. You know, it was built to be a small stadium. I have to at least give it average, but it's just the vibe of it is so bad because they have such horrible attendance, and now they're back to closing their upper deck. Again, this ballpark, 37,000 capacity, very small, opened in 2012, futuristic. You got the retractable roof. You've got the modern window that lets natural light in, so there's a lot of good aspects of it, but I don't know, when they took out that fish tank behind home plate, that was unnecessary. I mean, that thing was such a great feature, so I'm going to say the middle of average, but the exterior of it is way above average, and then the interior kind of brings it down for me. Next, we have American Family Field. It's below average. I'll say the upper spot in below average, but this is a very similar design when you look at the scoreboard to Chase Field. The batter's eye, the design of it is horrible. I understand it's a retractable roof. You're working with limited space, but the scoreboard cannot go dead center field. It is not a good design unless it's something like Kauffman to where it's, you know, got a crown on it, things like that. That just looks ugly to me. The thing with American Family Field, they're talking about $300 million renovations, and I agree. It needs significant renovations. The first thing I would do, I would figure out a way to move the scoreboard into the upper part, like into right field, and I would completely revamp the batter's eye. That's what I would do. I really don't think it needs any renovations in terms of its upper deck, because the upper deck really doesn't go all the way around or anything like that. It's not really a problem. The main problem is the scoreboard blocking most of the view because they got windows behind there, and I'd like to see the scoreboard moved over. The next one we have, it is Minute Maid Park. So Minute Maid, for me, you could make an argument it's really good. It's really borderline. I don't think I can put it in really good, but I like Minute Maid. I like the train. You know, the one thing about it, its retractable roof is extremely ugly, especially when it's open. I don't know why it's so ugly, but if you actually Google it, it is a grotesque looking roof. Just like how thick it is. You'll see it if you look it up, but, you know, I like it, you know, so I'll say it's in the upper area of average. The train is a great feature. The Crawford boxes, the way that fits in, they do a good job with that. And they did go through the renovation. They took out Taz Hill. They said, oh my God, one person got injured, so we got to remove it, of course. Next, we have Nationals Park. You know, this is your prototypical minor league extension minor league park. I'm saying below average. I don't think it's that bad. I'll put it at the upper echelon of below average, but there's nothing special about it, you know, outside of the fact that the broadcasting booth is so high up, you know, to give fans a better view. I can appreciate that. I can. But you've got to do something that makes the ballpark unique, and I just don't see it with it. It just gives me minor league vibes, personally. Next, we have Oriole Park at Camden Yards. So this has got to be in the best category or in the really good category. Maybe I'll move it down to the really good, but it is, you know, great ballpark. You know, you've got the warehouse. The movement of the wall is a little rough. But, you know, you kind of have to do that if you're the Orioles. It's impossible to develop young pitching the way that ballpark was with left field being so close. You know, so I understand why they did it. It did kind of hurt the vibe of it, but it's a really good park. You could argue that it's should be in the best, but I'm going to say really good. Next, we have Petco. Petco's got to be in the best for me. Just really good in general. It fits the vibe perfectly of San Diego. My one issue with it's the massive upper deck. There's an issue with that, but this is a park that was kind of built, I think, late 90s, maybe early 2000s, so you can understand and kind of forgive it for that. Next, we have PNC. I'm a little bit down on PNC compared to other people, so my thought process on PNC, I think most people, they understand the Pirates are so bad every year and they have bad ownership, so they feel bad for the fans, and it's kind of like a reward for them to be like, oh, but they have such an amazing stadium. It's a good stadium, but people overrate it. They overrate it. There's not much to it. I understand it has a great view, but it's not like you want to talk about a great view. Oracle Park has a great view, right? Like, let's not overrate it too much just because we feel bad for the fans. That's just what I think's going on with that. Next, we have Progressive Field. You know, kind of an underappreciated park. I'm going to say front end of average for sure. You know what? We're going to put Dodger Stadium at the front end of average, and then we're going to put Progressive really right on par with Minute Maid. I like Progressive Field. You know, the right field upper deck, it was botched. It is what it is, but they've got the nice, I love the way left field is done with the big scoreboard. The bleachers fit perfectly. You've got the bigger wall in left. It's a nice park. It really is. It went up the exact same time as Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And listen, if you like Oriole Park at Camden Yards, Progressive Field followed that same type of architecture when they made it. You can say, oh, they don't have the, you know, the warehouse and things like that. Yeah, I mean, they've got a nice restaurant that you can see. The Progressive Field has a lot of stuff that people don't realize. But next, we do have the Coliseum. Obviously, it's got to be in the worst. You know, it is what it is. It's such a sad story what's going on with Oakland. Their owner is like tanking the team. They want to make it as bad as possible to try and move to Vegas, and it's a multi-purpose stadium. It's the only multi-purpose state. Well, they do say that Rogers Center is a multi-purpose, but it hasn't hosted football in years, so I don't know. It is what it is. We all know the Coliseum and Mount Davis at this point are going to be it's going to be at the way bottom. It's going to be the worst. Next, we have the Rogers Center. So the Rogers Center, after their recent renovation, I really am starting to like it. I'm going to put in the front end of average, I'll say. I might actually have to move some of these up. Well, you know what? We have a few more. Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to put it in the front end of average. So the Rogers Center, I was surprised. A lot of people don't like it, but I think after the renovation, with the way they did the wall, the way they did the upper decks, people are really going to start coming around on it. It's going to host an all-star game, and it's going to be liked by a lot more people. Next, we have T-Mobile Park. I really love T-Mobile Park. I think it goes on the back end of really good. You know, this was one of my favorites. I just love the way the seating is done in the outfield to where you have two different split bleacher sections. I don't know why I like that so much. And then you have the scoreboard that to me fits a lot better. You know, it is a center field scoreboard, but it's a little bit off angle, and it's not like it's this big vertical thing that's right up against the wall. It's pushed way back. The right field upper deck, it's getting more use this year, I'm sure. You know, we saw the Mariners last year break out. They had such good crowds towards the end of the season. So, you know, this is the one retractable roof that is open air, and I really love that it's open air. That is kind of the perfect way to do it. In a mild environment, you're in the summer, you're not dealing with 90 degrees and humid like you would in Florida. So it's a roof, but when you open it, it is completely open. You know, it's not like it's the retractable thing where the walls are still up, you know. So that's why I like T-Mobile Park. Target Field, I think very underrated. I think it's really good, probably over Busch, I would say, but I'm not ranking them like that. I'm going to just put it in really good. Love the upper deck. Love the unique outfield seating, especially in right field, the way it kind of goes up like that at an angle. They recently got a new scoreboard as well, and Target Field, really, really well done with the small upper deck. Next, we have Tropicana Field. You know, it's the second worst MLB stadium, you know. I know people are trying to argue that it's the worst. You know, it's just not. There's no way it's worse than the Coliseum. It just can't be. I can understand if you're saying, well, the Coliseum is multi-purpose, but still, if we're judging it, it kind of has to be factored in. So Tropicana Field is really bad. The catwalks, you know, how clustered it is, the no natural light, you know, it's obviously they need a new stadium. Everyone knows it. They're either going to get a new stadium or they're going to move to Nashville. I think they're going to move to Nashville, but we will see. Next, we have Truist Park. So I would say Truist Park, really good. You know, it's kind of cheating because it is newer, but it's just very solid. There's nothing crazy special about it, but they just did the upper deck really well. They did the outfield seating really well with the chop house in right, and you do have a little water in center that I like when they do the batter's eye. So it was executed well. You know, it's kind of obvious if it was built recently, you're going to think it's probably going to be pretty good. Next, we have Wrigley Field. So Wrigley, you can argue should be in the best. I'll probably put it at the front end of really good. It's borderline for me. The Ivy is amazing. You know, it's just hard to grade because it's so old. I'm going to say really good because it's legendary. And then the final one, it is Yankee Stadium. I'm going to say Yankee Stadium to me is better than average. It just is. I'm going to say the back end of really good. You know, it's polarizing with Yankee fans. They're like, oh, it looks like a shopping mall. It's too corporate. But they did a good job on it. You know, it's hard. I love the upper deck being small and it's kind of section tiered. That was a really good design, I think. And you can say maybe it's a little just bland, but I don't know. I like Yankee Stadium. They gave it the feature with the short porch and right, while the alleys are really deep. And it is almost like a little bit more of a pitcher's park. But these would be kind of my overall tiers. So you could make the case that maybe Yankee Stadium, I'm sure a lot of people would say it's average. You know, I'm sure a lot of people would say Dodger Stadium is really good or maybe even the best. But overall, these are probably pretty standard rankings, I would say, across the board when looking at this. Maybe you can say Nationals Park is just average. Maybe people would want to move Citi Field up pretty significantly to really good. I don't know, but it's just my rankings when it comes to the overall tiers. So guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.